Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to the June 4th edition of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone.
I forgot to say along with my co-host, I'm sorry.
I'm like, wait a minute, I'm missing something, but I'm gonna jump in there.
I forgot. So anyway, welcome to the show, and we have an amazing night for you all again tonight. We always have an awesome lineup of guests, and we have an awesome lineup for the month of June that's completely booked every night in June and part of July. So it's going to be really some amazing people over the next several weeks that you'll see on the show. I'm going to do my announcements after this first interview because we have 3 people that we're interviewing in this first segment, and they are all co-authors of a book called The Game Plan. And the subhead is A Woman's Guide to Becoming a Doctor and Living a Life in Medicine. And all 3 of these young ladies are doctors, and they all are graduates of Georgetown Medical School. And I went to Georgetown as an undergraduate. So when I read that they were at Georgetown, I went in the medical school. I wouldn't have been in the medical school, but I did graduate with a business degree from Georgetown years ago. And so I was said, this is great. I can have some alumni on the show and hear about their experiences. And then they've written this fabulous book. So ladies, welcome to, or should I say doctors, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here. I'm excited to hear about your book as well. I mean, first of all, I love the title. I think with the title, you are automatically targeting exactly who you want to target with your book.
That was the goal, so that women could identify, and it didn't necessarily put a finger on one individual category. It could be a woman that is entering college, high school, or maybe looking at a path, a pivot in her career path. Yes. So,
and I believe it's 5 authors, is it, of the book, and all 5 went to Georgetown Medical. Got the degrees at Georgetown. So that's an amazing accomplishment. Now, did you all meet as students while you were there at the same time, or did you become aware of each other after that?
No, we met at Georgetown. We all came together in 1993, and we matriculated in 97 and 98, and we just became fast friends. And it was from a series of girls' trips. We were sitting around trying to figure out, well, how are we going to continue to serve? At that time, we were doing a very small scholarship for 4th-year medical students, and thought of doing maybe an app or some other way in which to kind of share our collective knowledge. And the idea of a book came up, and that was about a decade ago, and here we are.
Oh, okay.
So intentional then.
What was your question?
I said this was pretty intentional. You'd made a plan that you wanted to do something to affect the next generation.
Absolutely. Our goal was to talk to the women that we were when we didn't have all the knowledge that we wish we had prior to entering medicine, and hopefully to serve as a guide for those that are entering with, and allowing them to have their eyes wide open with as much information as possible so they could make an educated decision about all aspects of their career.
Wonderful.
So what do you all have your undergraduate degrees in?
Mhm.
Are you all in sciences or some other field? So you can just who were Sylvia. Yeah,
Diane,
by
go
the
ahead.
way, my daughter's name is Sylvia. So she's named
She
after
must be
her.
fabulous.
She is fabulous. She's named after her paternal great grandmother. So so
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I will start then
Oh,
since your
okay.
daughter's
Go
name is
yeah.
ahead.
Sylvia. I went to the University of California at Berkeley and I majored in molecular and cell biology.
Wow.
Okay. How about you, Diane?
I went to Wellesley College and I'm a non-science major. I majored in Black Studies and I minored in chemistry.
Okay. And Angela?
Yeah, I went to Texas A&M undergrad, and I got the classic BS in biology.
Okay. Well, I live in Houston, so
Okay.
we're very familiar with A&M.
Yes.
It's a great school and one of the largest schools in the
Yes.
state.
Yes.
Like
Texas
50
A&M is an amazing campus. It's huge.
It is huge. And it's grown, exponentially since I left. But yes, huge campus.
That's amazing because I visited that campus when I was in high school. And it was huge then. So I can only imagine if you said it's grown, I can imagine how expansive it is now.
There used to be an area, we called it over the tracks, the railroad tracks, where there wasn't a lot of activity, and they built a brand new stadium and all of the biochemical science building. It's yeah, you can't walk it easily. You need to have some type of access, like a bicycle. They have the tram, I guess.
Oh, yes.
And what did you all end up having as your specialties in medicine once you went through medical school and residency and all that?
Mm. So in medical school, during your third year, you start with clinical rotations. And so that's really the opportunity to learn about the different specialties. You might have an idea of what obstetrics is about or orthopedics is about, internal medicine. But until you start to do the clinical rotations, you don't really have a true sense. So during the clinical rotation years, third year, and then solidifying in fourth year is when students will then choose which area they would like to specialize in. And so for myself, when I went through the clinical rotations in obstetrics and gynecology, that is where I realized that this is an area that I love, I enjoy. When I went to school, I did not want to go into obstetrics and gynecology because that's the field where people are up all night. And wow, here I am. That's what I do.
Okay, now I didn't know people would be up all night, but I guess
Oh,
I
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Those babies
Yes.
love to come at
Oh,
any
yeah.
time.
well, babies
Yes.
do come at any time. That is
Yes.
true. But I know, if you're not in the field, you don't know that particular factoid necessarily about you know that it takes a lot of brain matter to be a doctor, whatever type it is. So Angela, what is your specialty?
I happen to follow the same path as Diane. Like many of us, when we go enter medical school, a lot of us have a preconceived idea of what we want to do. And from the time that I was young, I always wanted to be a pediatrician. And like Diane said, we go through the different rotations, and kind of the succession that I had, I did surgery and absolutely fell in love with it. But I always knew I wanted to have that continuity of care, and to have, my goal was to be able to prevent disease in people versus just treating. And so I did OB next, and it was just, a combination of everything that I loved at that point: women's health care, teaching, taking care of women. The gynecology part was interesting because it also involved surgery and procedures, and then teaching, and then you deliver that first baby. And if you're meant to do OB, it's usually you're done. And much like Diane, and what we talk about in the book, is I had no idea what call was like. It is a very taxing phenomenon on your body and your mind and your spirit. It is highly rewarding, but it's very taxing. So, but yeah, that was my journey.
Okay, and Sylvia?
Yeah, so I am an internist, which means that I take care of adults and typically chronic diseases. I have I'm lucky enough, I work in kind of a hospital situation. So I'm what you call a hospitalist, which means I only do inpatient work. And the reason I am an internist is because I originally was going to go into public health. I also have a master's in public health from Hopkins. And that was probably the best thing that I've ever done because it helped me think about populations. And I was always interested in taking care of communities, in particular communities of color, and how do I impact communities. I do it not only by making sure they have the appropriate medication, but thinking about the communities that they live in, what's the air quality, the water quality, do they have access to transportation, and all of those things. So I'm an internist. We have one other internist as an author, co-author, as well as a pediatrician. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Dr. Matthews is also an Aggie, and Dr.
Yes.
Osborne went to Rutgers.
Okay, okay.
Thanks for mentioning them as well. We want to make sure that they are not lost from this conversation because they're a huge part of this book as well.
Integral to the book, yes.
Right. So when you are talking to potential medical doctors, talking to students, what are some of the questions, the most common questions that you get from them?
Well, I spoke to a group, I guess it was the end of March, the Student National Medical Association, so Black Medical Association for medical students and some undergraduate students. And it was very overwhelming because it was a group of OBGYN, people that are interested in OBGYN. And when I entered the field, it was about, we were approaching 50% women. But in this audience, it was probably about 95% women and packed, and which was wonderful to see. Anyway, I digress, but it was a really good audience. I had a lot of questions about regular quality of life. What is it like being a woman and having a family, which I do. I have a husband who I've been married to for coming up on 32 years, who's been very supportive, and two adult children. And so they were asking really good questions, which I believe, I think I was somewhat remiss and I didn't really know the questions necessarily to ask, but I also didn't have the mentors in front of me to ask those questions. But I get a lot of questions about how do you do it as a woman and having a career and with all the other responsibilities that you have in life.
Kind of like the work-life balance question.
Yes.
Did those questions come prior to you writing the book?
No, our goal was to really give information that we wish we had known before we went to medical school.
Right. And that's why I had asked the question, because I was wondering, it seems like that as African-American women, you're probably going to have a lot of up and coming doctors who are looking to you and they're going to be asking advice. And I see them probably asking those questions. And I was wondering if that's what may have inspired the book. I know you said you wanted to make your mark, but I'm just wondering, like, what did you want to put in the book? How did you know this was the way you wanted to focus?
We literally started with what are the things we wish we had known. So it goes to dating, it goes to your point of work-life balance, contracting, how do you make a pivot in your career, the basics, how do you get into medical school, mentorship, sponsorship, that sort of nuance. So really just basic questions that we think are bread and butter questions that you should consider before you go into medical school or if you're already in that journey. And truthfully, it also works for people who are currently in training, so if they're in residency or fellowship training or early career.
Mhm. And then I will add that our initial editor, Wayne, as he was going through what we had written, then offered up to us that we needed to share personal experiences and to add to the topics of what we were talking about so that the reader would be able to read about what we're describing, but then hear our own voices, our experiences of what we actually went through. So
Okay.
that was a challenge in the writing process.
I
I
mean,
was
Telling
remembering the
something
story.
relevant without telling too
right.
much.
And that's what I'm saying. You feel like you're stripping down a little bit when you
Yeah.
start to share your own experiences.
Oh yeah, that was really
Absolutely.
hard for me. I don't know. It was like maybe PTSD or something. The ability to remember, but it was actually really hard for me to draw back and recall some things. But I
It,
do.
it, it requires you to be vulnerable. And I
Yes.
think that's so important in a book like what we're writing, because there are plenty of books on how to do it, what you need to do, get, your MCAP score, what your requirements are, and, those sorts of things. But in the book, we have a lot of real life experiences, including failures, including, the hard road to building up your profile in getting into medical school because perhaps you didn't get in the first time around, or get into the school of choice your first time around. And so just a lot of real life experiences that, again, we give a lot of accolades to our editor Wayne, because it was definitely not something that we even had thought of putting in the book. And I think that's really what sets it apart, quite honestly, is a lot of the experiential things that we talk about and just being very, very honest.
And I'll add on to what Angela is saying is that I know that our secret sauce is that we have 5 Black women physicians, and we all have 5 really unique stories that are portrayed really accurately within the book. So you think you're like, oh, they're 5 Black women, they've had similar stuff has happened to them, but we're geographically from different parts of the country. We went to different undergraduate schools. We came to medicine in different pathways. We're not all in the same specialty. We practice in different ways now and have had different career journeys. So I think it's really important that someone who's interested in medicine understands that they will find their own path. And part of the journey is living your most authentic life. And it's really important that you are able to understand that you can embrace that. And that's really your superpower.
Now, it's interesting to me that you, with all of this, you also mentioned dating. And as you probably know, sometimes professional African American women get such a raw deal when it comes to social media, because we're told that we're chasing our degrees and we're chasing our careers and we're not making time for a man. And I'm sure in your dating lives, you probably have heard some form of that. Do you find that many of the women you may be mentoring, have they had struggles in that arena? And then what is the advice that you give them when it comes to dating? Because not everybody they meet is going to be a doctor or is going to understand the journey.
I'll answer that question. I'm the single girl in the group. So the question about dating and what do I tell younger women? I think at this point, I'll be 55 in a couple weeks. I guess I tell them date them all and really find the right fit for you and someone who's going to be in your corner and help you shine your light the brightest. And you don't know until you sort of kiss some frogs. And sometimes you have a starter marriage and you have to decide that you're going to get divorced. I have girlfriends who are divorced. That's perfectly fine. But I think it's really important that we love ourselves first. And that journey of figuring out who we are as physicians, as wives and partners, as daughters, as friends, sometimes it takes us a little bit longer. And my favorite expression is let's not be in a hurry to make a bad mistake. So let's just, yeah, I'll stop there. Yeah, that question I guess hits a little close to home for me, but it's sometimes things happen. Things always happen at the appropriate time.
Absolutely.
You all, Diana and Angela, do y'all want to chime into that question?
Well, dating is definitely not anything that I can comment on because essentially I married my high school sweetheart, and so that was the date. We dated for 8 years though, from high school through college. We didn't get married until after college, but essentially I entered medical school married. We had gotten married the year before. But what I can say, and what I do talk about in the book, is how essential it is to have a supportive partner. Going into medical school, you're never going to know exactly what it entails until you're in it. But as much as you can, if you can educate that partner and have that, 100% support, which I can say that I attribute a lot of my success just getting into medical school to my husband because of how supportive he was. The other thing we do talk about in the book is how important it is not to delay relationships and to continue to nurture your relationships during medical school, because we tend to, a lot of people are kind of type A and, very focused on, I need to get this done first. I need to get this done first. But what you may realize is that once you get all those things done, you may have passed up a lot of opportunities. And not only speaking about dating relationships, but friendships. My best friend, I was so involved at one point, during residency where, she kind of raised her hand and said, hey, I'm still here. And we've continued to nourish our friendship, but it's really important to take care of all relationships, and taking care of relationships is part of your self-care. So, dating and family and setting aside time to continue to develop those things.
Okay, Diane, you get to be the last one to chime in.
I'd agree with Sylvia to just be open. I during medical school did date, and then I ultimately got married during residency. And so, just being open to the possibilities. Some relationships are going to work, others aren't. Medicine is challenging. It is a really hard specialty on relationships. And so you really do want to and hope to find that right person who can be truly supportive of what you're doing and supportive of the demands. And sometimes it's good to just take a pause and also not be with anyone and just celebrate oneself and love themselves. Mm-hmm.
But just because you go to medical school doesn't mean that you're not going to find a partner. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want anyone to think, oh, I don't want to go to med school because, I'm going to not have children, or I'm not going to get married, or things are going to be delayed. We're choosing ourselves and making the best decision for ourselves. And then the universe has a way of bringing everything else where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, I chose the entrepreneurship path. So I got a business degree at Georgetown, and at 25, I started my first business, and I haven't had a job with anyone since then. But entrepreneurship is kind of like medicine in that it takes a lot of focus and time and attention when you're trying to build something. Mm-hmm. And it's better to be single than to have a spouse that's not supporting you and creating problems and issues, because it's a competition or it's just not a good fit. So I've had both. I've been married twice, and the first time I got married, it was to someone who just didn't get it, you know. And so, and it doesn't. It's better to be single because they can really cause problems, and sometimes in the competitive part, they might even, and maybe it's subconscious, want you to fail, or you know. So you have to really be careful when you have demanding careers, especially that the spouse or partner is supportive, or and you know when you have an interest, the people that you're supposed to meet with that interest, they come across your path.
Right.
So I applaud you, women, for just one being all in with medicine and writing the book to share it with other people, with women especially, and making medicine achievable for a Black woman. It's important to see yourself or see other people in yourself. It's especially when you're doing something that's maybe non-conventional. It's probably more common now, I'm sure, than it was 50 years ago, but it's still not completely common. Now, are you all in private practice or in a hospital setting, or just talk about that a little bit because we only have a few minutes left.
I'll start. I work for the Mid-Atlantic Permanente Medical Group, and that's the medical group that takes care of Kaiser patients that have the insurance. So I have the wonderful experience of working in an office setting. I'm employed, so I do have an employer, but I get to do the full scope of office-based medicine as well as hospital deliveries. So it's a good fit for right now.
Okay. How about you, Sylvia?
Yeah, I too I work for Kaiser Permanente, but in Georgia. Ours is called the Southeast Permanente Medical Group. My job is probably my dream job at this point, in that in addition to doing hospital medicine, I also do marketing and I have an administrative role. So I have about the right balance in my work life. Nothing is perfect. However, it's a good situation, and I've had all the jobs.
And I stepped away from clinical medicine 2 years ago and work as a reviewing medical director for Humana currently, and have been fulfilling my passion still for women's healthcare through coaching and speaking. So we've all done a little bit of pivoting or changing in our career paths to basically make things well for ourselves. So
that you all are, I'm in awe. Just I think it's just wonderful that you all are following your dream. Now, okay, now I'm gonna go back to the question. When you were a little girl, did you think you wanted to be a doctor? You know how you think about what I want to be when I grow up. Was that on your list of things you wanted to be when you grew up?
It's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. So I was a kid at 5 who said, I want to be a doctor. My mother was a nurse.
Okay.
So being a physician was sort of the natural, I think, evolution for me. And I think most importantly, my mom always supported me. She never said I could not be a doctor. She dropped me off at Berkeley during a Dead concert with all these people walking around. And she said, are you sure you want to stay? I'm like, absolutely. And she dropped me off at Georgetown. And that was it. So yes, only want to be a doc.
Okay. How about you, Diane? Oh,
she frozen. Die.
Oh, yes. So I probably wanted to be a doctor from the time I was young as well. But I also thought about different things along the way. So there was a time where I thought, well, maybe I want to be a nurse. And there was a woman when I was working as a shampoo girl at my mother's hair salon who basically sort of gave me that challenge of, do you want to be the person that is, in control and running the ship, or do you want to be the person that takes the orders? And I guess it was said in a way that just really struck me. And so therefore I wanted to be the doctor. And so then I kept going in that direction. And here I am.
Okay, and Angela.
I am much like the other two. From the time that you're first asked what you want to do, it was doctor. And I've been asked so many times, like, well, what was it? Yeah, I really don't know. I wasn't sick as a kid. I remember going to the doctor maybe a handful of times. It wasn't like the preventative, and there were my dad's side of the family. There were a lot of nurses, but I didn't grow up around them, but I did know that that was a possibility. And so, yeah, it was just something that I liked. I did like science. And of course, what you'll hear most, doctors talk about is I want to help people. But all of that was very, very interesting to me. And I'll just add something that you had mentioned is, if I can, the aspect of us being I think hopefully helpful to young African-American women wanting to go into medicine. 10 years ago, when we started writing the book, that, obviously we know who we are and very grounded in who we are, but our purpose was to write a book for all women. But certainly at this point in our history and time, there's never been a more important time for us to encourage our sisters to go into medicine. And there's certainly a need, and we see that in just our field alone in OB and pediatrics, how it's very important to take care of people of color, to have people of color taking care of them. And if nothing else, that we can continue to teach our allies and those that may not know that they need to be taught about our culture, and continue to educate on preventive health and aspects of healthcare that affect us directly.
Do you all have challenges? Rhonda, did you have a question? Because I've been asking.
No, I was just saying thanks for touching on that. I think a lot of times we do set out to actually want to help people, all people. But the reason why I pointed out the aspect of you being African American women is because we need to show the next generation proof of what's possible. Many times as kids, we say we want to be something, but then our environments tell us that we can't do it, that it's not possible, or they won't let you do it. And so when these young girls actually get to see that they actually can be a doctor, or they can be a lawyer, or they can be a talk show host, or what have you. Mm-hmm. It gives them that extra motivation to continue to move forward. So that was the reason why I brought that up, because I know that there are going to be young girls out there who are probably thinking that they can't do it because of their environments, or they've been criticized. You're chasing degrees when you should be taking care of home, and all these other things. So I think people need to see. They need to see this show. They need to read a book like yours and know that they can continue to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Now,
our book is available on Amazon. Oh. Sorry, that was such a natural thing.
Yeah. And do you all have a copy? Any of you all have a copy of the book that you all can show the audience?
Right behind you.
Okay, great. Okay.
The link to the book is in the chat. For anybody who would like to order the book, maybe somebody going through medical school, but in saying that, do you think that somebody who may not necessarily be going through medical school or pursuing a doctorate, could they still get something out of this book?
Absolutely. And honestly, high school students all the way through kind of early career, or people who are making a pivot, because it's really important that you understand how important it is to have relationships with people. So certainly friendships, but also having mentorship is really quite critical. So we recommend the book for everyone, not necessarily just for women too. There are things that men can learn from the book as far as what it takes to become a physician, and then all other ways in which they can be supportive on a woman who's on her path.
Wonderful.
Okay, well, we really appreciate you all coming on the show. I will say, in just an anecdote in closing, when I first went to Georgetown, I went into nursing school, and I quickly, as soon as the first time I had to go into the hospital and actually touch a patient, that's when I knew it wasn't for me. I changed my major. I changed my major to business and never looked back after that. But it was an experience. Because you all would know the dorms because you all went to graduate school. I mean, went to medical school. But I was in St. Mary's then. I don't know if they even still have that dorm, but that was the dorm for nursing students at the time. So anyway, thank you all. You all are so impressive. And I was glad I got to talk to fellow Georgetown alumni, even though it's a medical school, it's still Georgetown. So thank you so much. And anybody interested in a medical career or just a career, get a copy of the game plan. It's available on Amazon. Thank you, Doctors Sylvia, Diane, and Angela, for being on Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
having
very
us.
much. Hoya Saxa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have worn one of my t-shirt, but you wouldn't really been able to see it anyway. So, all right, you all have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, before we bring on our next guest, and our next guest is having a problem logging on. I'm not sure, because she's on the chat, but she's not on the Zoom. But anyway, and I'm gonna maybe have to go off camera and work with her on that particular thing. But I did want to mention the National Black Book Festival is we're 90% in terms of our vendor space being sold. So, and right now we're in late registration. We only have a few vendor slots left. So for those who are interested in registering as authors, publishers, or small business people, I would suggest, I'm thinking middle of June, definitely by the end of June, we'll be completely sold out. And we may or may not have a waiting list. I'm not sure. So please do that. And the Black Authors Matter Children's Book Awards process, the deadline was yesterday. So everybody who signed up for that to submit their books, you had to have your book postmarked by yesterday. And we're continuing to receive those. And the announcement for the finalists, that won't be until August. So our next guest is Suzetta Perkins. And she's 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 online in the comments, but she's not on the Zoom. And
Log into the Zoom. Log into the Zoom.
I said she said, can I tell she's on? But she has to join via the Zoom link. And I sent everybody the same thing. And she's been on the show before. She has a new book out. So I'm not sure why she's not logged on to the Zoom. Suzetta, she said, can I tell? So maybe I should call her or text her or something. But she's on here. I don't know why she's not on the Zoom. Let me go off camera. Rhonda, talk to the audience or to yourself for a minute.
Talk to myself.
I talk to myself, not on Zoom, but anyway, let me see if I can get her on, and I'll be right back.
Okay. So hi everybody. Just another announcement. I don't know how many of you are in the 2024 Authorpreneurship Summit that's hosted by Sharon Jenkins, but if you missed day 2, which was today, you missed my talk on the art of writing. So if you are in that, it's not too late to, it's a 5-day summit. So you still have days 3 through 5. But there is such great information. I'm looking forward to the talks for tomorrow through Friday. I didn't even listen to my talk yet because there were so many other great talks that talked about book marketing, that talked about editing and so forth, that I was listening to everybody else's. And even Sharon Elliott, who has been on the show before, she is an author. She is an author agent. And she talked about her program. So I've been just kind of going through and listening to everybody else's, and it's really great information. So if you are an author or if you are an aspiring author, you definitely want to make sure that you are logging into that. So it's the 2024 Authorpreneurship Summit, hosted by Miss Sharon Jenkins, who has been on the show before, I believe, on this show before. And I also had the pleasure of meeting an author last night who was on my show, the Horizons Author Lounge, who is an author who's written 8 books and he's on the spectrum, Jamal Bias. So very, very interesting story he had. And I like his concept. He wants to write about, he writes about these universes, and he writes these stories where people with disabilities are predominant, and they're the ones making the rules. And I thought that was interesting because we don't see that much. So I'm looking forward to reading some of his stories and just seeing how he approaches these ideas, because I've never heard anybody do that before. So I thought that was amazing. So, hi, did you get in touch with her?
I did, and she's logged on now. So we have Suzetta Perkins as our next guest, and she has been on the show before, but it's been a while. I want to say a couple of years. And she has a new book that came out March 28th, and
Okay.
it's called Black Diamond. So she's going to talk about her new book as soon as we get her on camera.
I'm sure she'll be here in a second. There she is. She's coming.
Okay. Unmute, because we can see your lips moving, but we can't hear
I'll
you.
tell you the truth. These new, anyway, I'm not gonna talk about it. I'll complain to myself later.
Okay.
These newfangled systems.
Yes,
We
yes,
try to keep it simple because
Yeah.
unless you're on it all the time, sometimes it can be challenging.
yeah.
And
you're
we're
right.
on it all the time. So but welcome, Suzetta, to Black Authors Matter TV, or welcome back. Now, I think it was a couple of years ago when you were on the show.
Yes, I leave it. Yeah, at least a year and a half ago. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
So you have released a new book called Black Diamond. Do you have a copy of it?
Yes, I do. And probably it's backwards, but yes, I
No,
do.
it's not
Oh,
backwards.
no, it looks good.
It's not-
Oh,
yeah.
it looks good. Oh, okay.
On
It's backwards to me.
Zoom live Facebook, the books aren't backwards.
Oh, okay.
Which
Okay,
is
I
a
can see
great
when I
thing.
see, when I look at it, it was backwards. So okay,
But I
wonderful.
think if you do Facebook Live, like just straight Facebook Live, that's when it's backwards. But if
Okay.
you do Zoom and then go live on Facebook, it's not backwards.
Oh, okay.
I learned that early on.
Yeah.
So tell us about Black Diamond and what I've been seeing it a lot on social media. So
Yeah, it has
where
been
did you get
doing quite well. But first off, let me say, Gwen, I am so excited to be back again. And if I meant to send you a copy, but you are featured in my acknowledgments. I just want you to know that I do,
Uh-oh.
I do appreciate, talk show hosts and so forth, reaching out to people like me to give us this platform. So I just appreciate you, and I acknowledge you in Black Diamonds. But Black Diamonds, let me just give you a quick synopsis. It is the sequel to Fallen Leaves, which I think I spoke about in my
Right.
earlier
Right.
interview with you. And just to give you just a little snapshot of Fallen Leaves, it follows my character, Reese Gypsy Shackelford, as she journeys through the pandemic of 2020 and the aftermath of the George Floyd killing, which we all experienced. And while Gypsy's life wasn't always a bed of roses, she found purpose in her life. And that was when she joined the Black Lives Matter movement. It was a short climb, but anyway, she found purpose. And what I wanted to do, without telling that whole story, because that is a whole big story in itself, but I wanted to lift her up, because she, had a little hard, but it might have been her, she might have caused that herself, because she had a sister who lived across town who lived in a gated community, had a nice job, had a husband who was an attorney in town. And, sometimes you have those siblings, that they see you, and they blame you for the situation that you're in, and really didn't want to help. So I wanted to elevate this character. And so what I did in Black Diamond, without giving Fallen Leaves all the way, I moved her out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. It just happens to be where I live now. So I use that because I lived through the pandemic in North Carolina. I'm a Cali girl. I was born and raised in Oakland, Hayward, California. Yeah. So anyway, I've been here for 30 years. So I guess I'm a plant, a permanent implant here. But anyway, I moved her out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and took her to Los Angeles. And she found new life. She was given an opportunity to work with the Black Lives Matter movement there, probably just to get some, some instruction, some guidance, so that she could take it back to Fayetteville. But she didn't really want to go back to Fayetteville. And that's because she and her children, she had two young girls who really, they thrived while they were there. And she really delved hard into the Black Lives Matter movement, also becoming entrenched in the policies, trying to change policies at the LA Police Department, housing, all that, those ramifications. I mean, she really became a voice to be reckoned with, but you'll see her again, all her trials, because as you know, and I've kind of made it in this, well, of course, since the pandemic was now, the information is now, we've had more killings. Black Lives Matter is still going on. People are still being killed, black, white, whatever, red, what have you. Those things haven't stopped. George Floyd was just a pivotal moment in our lives because we were all sitting at home watching TV, waiting for the call, not really though, to go back to work. I think my job, I had to go back to work. Not that I was that essential worker, but I had to go back to work. But we were all sitting there, in front of our TVs when this thing happened, not that it didn't happen to Ahmaud Arbery just months ago, and our girlfriend, I can't think of her name right now, but this was still going on. And so you see that, her as she fights through issues that I've invented, for the book, while she's there. But an unforeseen new event in her life, which is how I start the book out, allows her to go across the ocean, over to Europe. And she finds that Black Lives Matter is alive and well across the globe. But, fighting in both hemispheres, has its casualties, and I did a lot of research, and in Italy, they have a street named George Floyd, and another person that was killed over there that a lot of the activists were fighting for. So they have both of those streets together. So that was very interesting to me. So anyway, this is her story. And even though I'm telling it to you in a kind of flat kind of way. I'm a drama person. I am a suspense person. So I'm going to take you there. I take you to Paris. I take you to Italy. I take you all over. And then you come back and, oh my God, you know, she got to deal with this. It's a good story. But she ends up having to come back to Fayetteville because, well, I just give that little tidbit. In the first story, her sister, the one that I told you that she was really having a lot of issues with, you know, and that sibling rivalry thing, you know, well, she gets killed. She gets killed by a policeman in Fayetteville. And so she's has to come back for the trial. But other things happen too. And I'm telling you, my readers, honestly, they have been fascinated with it. This book is doing so well, so well. And somebody asked me, I wasn't trying to do a third book, but I may, because there's things, right, there are issues, or there are things in here that I could carry, you know, on, you know, and I know how to get it going, you know, but I have been so amazed at people's response to this particular book. Now, Gwen, you know, you got to stop me because, you know, I'm one of them people that like to talk, you know, so I'm going to stop there. But that's—
You're answering all the questions that we would have asked you anyway. It's okay, Suzetta.
So that's the gist of the story. I'll put it like that.
Okay, now
Without giving it away. And I mean, there's so much more to it, really.
who is depicted on the cover? Who in the book is depicted on the cover? Can you show the cover again? It looks like a man.
But you know, people say it looks like me, and I actually did my own cover this time, you know, and I'm just so excited. But no, it's supposed to be gypsy, you know, I have the I love it because there's a mystique about the picture, you know, that I utilize, you know.
It is. I thought it was a man. Can you show it again?
No, it's a female.
Okay. See, you can't really tell.
A darkness under the cloak. Yeah.
And you don't really see lipstick or makeup, too much makeup.
No, it's there, but I think it's because of the dark cover, you know.
Okay, I like that you did the different font.
Yeah,
Black
right.
diamond. I like that. And
I was on mute. I said now I can see it because when you held it a little further back, I thought it was somebody looking to the side with a hat on. But when you brought it closer to the screen, I can see it's a woman's face.
Right.
Straight on in the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you did a good job on your cover. Some people, when they do a cover themselves, and I don't recommend it unless people have some serious art talent. Now this is the segue, but now people are using AI to do covers. The thing about AI is everything looks alike. Now, if you want a cover that looks like AI did it, then, you know, go for it. But you had one thing that you did that's essential in a book cover, you had a central image that people could focus on. Some people, they want to try to tell the story on their cover.
Right.
They have 5, you know, or 6 clip art images. You can't try to tell your story on the cover. And you did a good job with that. Now, do you do covers for other people?
No,
is that what you do?
No, that was the only one.
What made you do yours? What made you do yours?
No, this was my first attempt. And
okay.
And people, when I showed it to people, I have the little thing, girl, that is so bad. I have so many great comments. I said, okay, I'm gonna go for it. But I usually use well, you know, for 12 or 13 years, I was with Simon & Schuster. So, you know, they did all that stuff through my imprint company. But I have a designer, a graphic designer. She takes so long. I know she's not going to be on the show, so she ain't going to be listening.
You never know. She might see it and say, "Oh, Suzetta's on here," and click the link.
But now she knows, right? She was slow. I have to keep after. So that's the reason why. In fact, even on Fallen Leaves, the is a tree. You know, fallen leaves represent the people that have died through the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement. That's what Fallen Leaves represents. But that tree was a picture that my son took in town. And then when I took it and I put it in Canva and emblazoned it, and then I gave it to my designer. Okay, you don't have a whole lot to do. Okay, don't charge me arm and leg. No. And now you finish it up for me. But anyway, I digress. So this was my first experiment, and I think I did a good job.
You did a very good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this is a book 2 in the series.
Yes.
Okay. And it can it be a standalone book? Or do you have to have really read Free Falling Leaves to get?
To really get the essential body of the character, Gypsy, it's best to read Fallen Leaves, because you know all about her in that. You get the full, the grits, the eggs, the bacon, you get everything about her, full, yeah. And you'll understand her zeal in the second book, So I do encourage people to read Fallen Leaves first.
Okay, so these 2 are self-published. These are you did independently.
Yes.
Okay, did you do the audio? Did you do an audio?
No, I haven't. I'm certainly considering it. I've been approached about it. So and I actually went to a session at the National Book Club Conference, which I'm going to another one again, to discuss it further. But I'm my coins may not be as big as some of the other folks' coins. It can be an expensive.
It does seem a little pricey.
Yeah. Right.
Because I've looked at it, and I've only tried to listen to one book, and if the people who watch the show know that it's been recent, and it's not for me listening to. I've been reading too long. I've been reading since I was 4, an avid reader. Yeah. And I'm not, when I'm in my car, I'm listening to music, period. That you can put a period. I am listening to music in my car because I like the surround sound aspects of music in my car. And so I don't listen to books, and I don't commute. I don't have a long, drive to work and that kind of thing. So my first, I listened to about half a book, not even half. I got the 30-day free trial with Audible. It just recently, the time was up, I canceled. So I don't have to pay anything. But some people just really swear by it. And Rhonda does it often. She listens to books. This is not for me.
When I'm in hurry, and this is for instance, our former who is still my president, Barack Obama, that 700 page, that's the only way I could listen to that. In fact, when I was at page 300 and whatever it was, I said, is it your inauguration yet? I was
I think I got about halfway through. Right, but I read the other 2 books he did too. So I felt I got some good background, his upbringing and all of that. So I got halfway. In fact, the book club that I was in, we each took sections, like to discuss. Each person had a section of the book to discuss, because that's 700 pages is a whole lot of pages.
Right.
And it's not fiction, so it's not something it's not a quick read.
Right. And when and if you have I wouldn't say multitude. If you have multiple characters and you're trying to get into the character's voice, unless you divide it up that way, one person takes this character, another, it would be difficult. For people ask me why haven't I done it, but I don't like my voice. When I listen back to my voice, way back in the day, I sounded okay, but I listen to myself now and I don't enjoy my voice. And so I'm sure other people probably wouldn't enjoy listening to me either, to read it. I'll write it, but for me to read it, I think so. I'm not that skilled in it.
Okay, so which book is this for you in terms of number? Which
number 18?
Number 18. Okay, well,
go ahead,
great.
girl.
That's great. And when did your first book come out? Because I remember your book when we had the bookstore. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was Behind the Veil in 2006.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was with Straber, which was imprint of Simon and Schuster.
Mhm.
And yeah, so yeah, it came out. I wrote it in 2000, and then it's the process of getting an agent. I got an agent and all of that, and getting the book deal and all of that. But yeah, 2000, it was actually published in 2006 was the very first one.
Is Straber still around?
I don't believe so. No, I don't believe so.
Okay, because I
And
haven't
you can
seen
still find it. You can still find it.
the backlist, but
Yeah, the backlist is still on at Simon and Schuster because my agent passed away. Max, if you know Maxine Thompson.
yes, oh yeah.
She was my agent.
Oh,
And she
okay.
passed away early part of this year. And
Yeah.
so, you know how it goes with your residuals, it would go to the agent first, so when I went to, find out how I can get my, my royalties, I saw that Straber is still there, all the backlist, they're all listed there under Straber,
Okay, but I don't think they're releasing new books. I don't know if
not
they're
to, not
around
to
with.
my,
I
not to
don't
my,
think, and I don't hear about them in terms of acquisitions. Like
yeah,
the agents I know, they're signing people. I never see
yeah, not to my knowledge.
anymore. So, do you have another book that you're working on now? Because
Yes.
most writers are always writing the next book.
Oh, always, always. I'm practically, well, I think I'm more than 2/3 way through it. It's called L Hyde Place. That's just the name of a street. I'll know. I was talking to some girlfriends after church or at our lunch, and we lunch after church. Us single women. I know you were talking about single people on the previous in the previous segment, but yeah. So they were talking about all that they were doing, and I think they mentioned some streets. So I don't know. I just came up with that name, but it has nothing to do with the story. Well, it does. It does, of course. But anyway, it's another suspense novel, and it's about a minister's fall from grace and repercussions because of that, So anyway, that's all I will say at this time, but yeah. So
Okay, and do you have a target for that one?
what now?
Do you have a target release for that
I hope
in
to have
next
I
year?
keep saying every month I'm gonna have it done, but I hope to have it done before Christmas so I can sell it, at Christmas.
Okay, and are you planning to stay independent with this one?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you're going to do your cover again?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm not there. This was an experiment. It was wonderful. I even did the hard copy, because, I've shared something, and I've had other authors like Jackie Thomas, who is a very dear friend of mine, who has helped me. She's worked with a publishing house before, so she gave me a lot of good feedback. In fact, she helped me when I first started, then told me I had to get my own Mac because, I was always a Microsoft person, and so I had to get my own Mac, my own software, to do all my stuff and lay up, because I lay it out myself and all of that, even though I do have persons who edit it, of course. But so I don't think so, Gwen. No, it's a tedious job. It's a tedious job, especially if you want it to look right, and I know a presentation is everything, because when when you present it to the public, you want them to say, "Oh, I love that." You want them to recognize, okay, that's Suzetta's work or whomever it is, work that looks good. And you want them to be drawn into it. And people really were drawn into Black Diamond. I mean, really, in fact, I just had I know that's one of the questions probably, but I had a book signing this past Saturday. And honestly, all my books, people were buying 3 and 4 books, it was so awesome. I just wanted to cry. And I had a book club meeting right after that. And it was just so overwhelming. And people were cash apping me, "Girl, you got any more books?" I couldn't make it to the book signing. And I'm just like, Lord, don't tell me I had to order more books.
Yeah, that is a blessing.
It was a true blessing. It was. The people came out and support. And that's what I do want to say to the audience, to my readers, I don't like to say fans, but to my readers, thank you for showing up. Regardless, if it's just a person that downloading it or what have you, I just appreciate you all for supporting this author. I may not be on the New York Times bestsellers list, and it doesn't matter, but I mean, I would love to be, but what I'm saying, is that the support that you all give me, and I'm just so appreciative. And I guess that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to make sure I got that in, almost forgot, but yeah.
Okay. Well, we're at the end of our time because we started a little late. But I'm glad you were able to log in and we were able to make it happen. And congratulations on the new book, Black
Thank you
Diamond.
so much.
Okay. And it's available wherever books are sold, I'm assuming.
No, it's on Amazon. Sorry.
Okay, well, that's a good start.
Right.
The website is in the chat as well. So if you forget about Amazon, go to the website, and I'm quite sure the website will lead you to where you can order the book.
Yes, and if I could just say real quick, my SuzettaPerkins.com, all my books are listed. All you have to do is hit the icon. It'll take you right to Amazon where you can purchase the book.
Okay. All right. Well, Suzetta, congratulations again. Thanks for being a guest on.
Thank you. And I'm sorry I was sitting on the thing, but I was tardy. I thought I was in, but I appreciate it again, Gwen. Thank you for having me.
Okay. You're welcome.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
As we always say on the show, when it's live, anything can happen. And that's true. But it's part of the charm of the show. It's some spontaneity, unexpected things, and you all get to see that technology works, but they're quirks. So anyway, our next guest, I believe, is logged on. It doesn't say the name, but we'll find out shortly. And our next guest is Peggy Dixon. She is joining us as an author under the B.K. Royston Publishing umbrella. And actually, Peggy and our next guest after her, they're both with B.K. Royston. And so Peggy has a book called The Meat of Marriage. And she capitalized M-E. I don't know if that was a typo or that's supposed to signify something. She capitalized the M and the E in the word meat. So I'm thinking that she is emphasizing. Yeah, I feel like it was, but she'll tell us for sure, because sometimes there are typos when the people submit the form and it's not what it's supposed to be. But Peggy, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And if you can unmute your mic so we can hear you.
Hello?
Okay, there we go.
Yay!
Okay.
It's good to see you again. And your doctor friend.
Oh, thanks. I'm her doctor friend.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, she's my doctor friend. So, Peggy, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
well, thank you for having me, Gwen. I certainly do appreciate being able to be a part of this broadcast. And I got to give a shout out, of course, to my B.K. Royston publisher. That's Julia, who's my publisher. And of course, I got to give a shout out to her husband, Brian. And more than that, I got to get a shout out to my husband, because we've been married almost 50 years in August.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Congratulations. That
Thank you. Thank you.
quite a feat. Did you all
Yeah.
get married as teenagers?
Yeah, well, 20 and 21.
That's still teenager.
That's teenager.
At 20 and 21, you still don't know much.
You're right about that. You were right about that. That's kind of how this book came about,
Okay.
But I don't know how soon you want to get into it.
No, as soon as you want to.
Let's do that. All
yeah.
right.
This is your time.
All right. So this is the book.
Okay, so the ME was intentional. The
It very much
capitalization.
intentional.
Okay.
And this is the workbook.
Oh, okay. So you got a
So-
workbook and a book.
And a book this time around, yes. So
Mm.
yes, the title is very deliberate
Okay.
because the title came about because I was with a group of a couple of my girlfriends, and we were discussing. They said, "Well, maybe your next book will be called The Meat of Marriage," and I was like, "Oh, maybe it will be," you know. So kind of went like that. And then as this one started progressing, I realized that it's the me in marriage. You know, meat is the substance that we need in a meal. It's the uh, essence of a meal, and when that's missing, you know, everybody's looking for where's the meat. I mean, you can have everything else on the table, looking good, smelling good, ready for dinner, but you want that meat. You want that substance that makes the meal. And in marriage, the meat is the one that makes the marriage, the substance of the marriage. Oftentimes we go into marriage, we want to change the other person. You know, we figured later on down the road, I'll change them. But the bottom line is, no, you need to change you. So it's the me of marriage. It's deliberate so that you kind of focus on yourself. But one of the things that I found is over these course of years is that we don't really understand what marriage is. Excuse me for a minute. Husband, Walter.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you have to excuse me. He's in here. He done fell asleep on me.
Oh, well, we didn't
But
hear anything.
okay, well, okay, okay.
Yeah, you have to train. You know, the Bible says you have to train up children, but you also have to train up your husband.
Well, he was gonna leave. He was gonna stay, then he was gonna leave, and then he came back. And anyway, so what I wanted to say about marriages is that we often think we understand and know what marriage is, but what the real thing we need to know is, what does marriage involve? See,
Absolutely.
everybody has an idea what marriage may be, but what does marriage involve is the real key to understanding marriage. And one of the things in the book that I've written about is, and it's one of my favorite chapters, is what marriage is not.
Okay.
There are a lot of
So
things
what is
that,
marriage is not? Give us
well,
just a little bit of
just a little bit. Well, how about
just
I
like
tease you a little bit?
appetizer
Okay,
on
come
Oh,
on,
that chapter.
let me tease you a little bit.
What
I'm going
marriage
to read
is
just
not.
a
Okay.
short excerpt of this. I discovered, and this is when I was young, okay, when I was in my childhood years. This is what I learned to discover marriage is not. Marriage is not black eyes. Marriage is not bruised lips or swollen jaws. I discovered marriage is not broken arms or limbs. I've discovered marriage is not bruised ribs. I've discovered marriage is not knocks upside the head. See, I saw those things, and I think when you see those things, they make two impressions on you, or they should make two impressions. One is that you will never want to be in a relationship like that. But two, some young ladies have grown up not realizing that that's not marriage. And so they accept it until they get to a place in their life where they realize this isn't what I wanted out of marriage. So that's one part of it. I won't read them all, but I'll go on to talk about marriage because I call this physical abuse, and then I go on to talk about,
definitely is physical. Definitely.
yeah, and then I talk about one that's called jealousy and verbal abuse and adultery. So you can see there that as I've learned what marriage isn't. And I want others to understand what marriage isn't. It's not controlling or not you controlling your spouse or your spouse controlling you. That's another part of it. Marriage is not slavery.
Yeah.
You know, it's not what old folks used to say when we would hear the phrase, barefoot and pregnant. Just keep them barefoot and pregnant, or keep having babies, and maybe he'll stay around. Well, that's not marriage either. So I wanted to make sure at the very beginning of this book that people understood what my thought was, and my thinking is, you don't know what marriage is. I thought it was this, and then I discovered what it wasn't, and then I discovered what it is.
Okay.
And that's just part of the book. Then there's a part in there that talks about blind date. And I speak on blind date because sometimes we're looking at the person we're wanting to marry, but oftentimes you need a different set of eyes to help you see what you don't see in the choosing of the person you're going to choose for a mate. And so I call that the blind date. That simply means you take them to meet someone other than your parents, someone else that you know will tell you the truth, can see things and hear things that you're not seeing, not hearing, to help you to know, maybe I shouldn't consider this. And I say that because in these almost 50 years, had the opportunity to tell some couples you don't really need each other. You shouldn't. Now that's not to say that I would tell everybody that, but there are sometimes when we are talking to people, you can pick up on things that they're not picking up. And it turned out that my husband and I were right in telling them, this is not the best thing for you. It ended very, very bad. Very bad. And so the purpose of writing the book is, one, did you realize, I'm sure you do because you do this all the time, but the US has the sixth highest rate in the world, 40 to 50% of divorce rate. Usually it's the women that's about 70% that make the decision to get the divorce. And then there's the second and third marriages that take place. The rates are like 60% for the second and 73 for the third percent. And so I realized I am a marriage investor. I believe in marriage. I know that in order to be married, to stay married, you have to work at it. And that's why there's a workbook, so that you can work at your marriage and review and reevaluate yourself. But because of that, because I invest in marriages, I want to help people to make great choices in their relationship. What influenced you? I want to know, when you're thinking of marrying and you've married, what influenced you to make that decision? Was it his six-pack? Was it her physique? Was it her
cleavage, or was it the other one?
Yeah. Was it
now
all
you're
of that?
touching on what I wanted to ask, because I think, you said that marriage is not abuse, but sometimes marriage is not always going to be peaches and cream and roses.
Of course not.
It's because the excitement and romance kind of wore down a little bit, that means it's the end of the marriage. And
no, but
now we have to go find somebody else.
No, what that really means is you got to get back in there and work. Yes. You got to remember what brought the two of you together to begin with. There are times that my husband and I have been like, baby, I really don't know about this. And I've been like, you're right. But we had to make the decision, and it's in the book, that you have to work at marriage. People say marriages are made in heaven. I say they may be, but you sure have to work them out here on earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of it. Marriage is forgiving. You have to, maturity, if you're mature in a marriage when you can forgive.
Yes.
Maturity is part of marriage. Being able to forgive them when they've said or done, or you said or done, and being big enough to go back and apologize. I often, there's so much I can talk about this book, so y'all just
Well,
help
you can
me
just talk in general terms.
unload.
But I would say also marriage is commitment. You know, a lot of people go into it looking for a way out, a back door, an exit strategy. And that shouldn't be the way that you approach a marriage.
This is true.
Because it's gonna, you know, I've been married 30, it'll be 32 years in September.
Congratulations
And
to
I've
you.
been married twice. The first one was 4 years. It was horrible. But it taught me that you can't, what taught me a lot. But one thing is you can't assume anything about a person that they haven't already demonstrated.
That's true.
You know, I was naive, and I thought, you know, all men knew what a husband was supposed to do based on what I thought, you know, what my upbringing was. And I, you know, I had to learn, no, they don't know. They don't, or their idea is totally different from yours. So, you know, you need to be compatible. And that's what the Bible talks about, being equally yoked. You need to be going in a similar direction, at least. You need to have similar values. You need to have the same thing is important. You know, if he thinks going out to the club is more important than paying a light bill, that's not a good.
Yeah, that's not gonna be good for
Money at that
anybody.
club, and then we might have to go ahead and make an exception.
What did you say in the beginning, Rhonda? I didn't hear the first
I
part.
just said if he's making money at that club, we might have to make an exception.
Oh, no, well, unless he owns the club, he's not making legal money. And if he's going there to do transactions, it's probably not legal.
Well, you know, one of the things you have to do is make your spouse your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
a lot of times, and even I can say this of myself at the beginning, you know, you got your girlfriends, you want to hang out, you still want, and but you have to balance and understand that they are just that. They are your girlfriends. This is your spouse, and this is the one you're going to be with or plan to be with for life. And this person has to become your best friend. And so I talk about a possibility list, whether that possibility list is in your head or on paper. I talk in the book about a possibility list because we all have made possibility lists about what we wanted in our spouse, whether that's a man looking at getting married to a woman or a woman getting ready to marry a man. Everybody has a possibility list. And then I also have a short a list that was omitted out of my possibility list. Mm-hmm. But there are so many facets to this book that you can get out of my book. I talk about in the book choosing a boy, choice A, or choosing a man, choice B.
Okay, yeah.
That's like choosing a hamburger over a steak. But I do that because I call it today's special, because you need to know that you're special, and you need to be looking at what you want in your spouse or your mate to be special towards you and you towards them. So there's that chapter in there. I have one that's called Me. It's building the meal. It's the me, where I really examine me. And if you're going to be married, and you know, because you said it, you've been married at 30 some years now, and therefore you've had to look at yourself and say, is it me? You know, marriage is not 50-50. And I don't know where we got that phrase from, 50-50.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I say it should be 100.
It is 100.
It should be. If both
it should
people,
be.
they need to be,
you have to give it 100.
Putting in 100. Otherwise, one person is really caring more about it than the other. and that's going to get old eventually, you know.
Yeah.
But now on your workbook,
Yes, ma'am.
what I wanted to ask you now, what is the name of the book? Somebody asked that. What is the name of the book?
The Meat
So
of Marriage.
put your cover up again so the person can see it. The Meat of Marriage by Peggy Dixon. Now, do you counsel people, married couples
I
or
do.
potentially engaged couples? Do you do it at church or do you do it as a counselor, like a profession?
Okay, so you can contact me by going to Peggy Bruce Dixon at Gmail, and we can set up some time to get together and talk, make an appointment, make arrangements to get together and talk about your relationship, your marriage. I believe it's important that we have that connection before we get married. Some of those things before. I know it helped me before I got married. We did 6 weeks of counseling, and
Oh,
I
well,
am
good
so
for
glad.
you. And you were young and you still had a good head on your shoulders.
Well, thank it was all the Lord, because He knew I didn't know no better. But I also knew that I wanted to do it right. Like I said, had so many influences that I'd seen growing up, whether it was in my family line or whether it was the friends of family, or whether it was those in the neighborhood, that I realized early on those situations can influence you. So we took counseling, and I'm glad I did. And I still believe in counseling. It's not to really tell you no, yes or no to marry or not marry that person, but it's just to help you to understand that if you choose to marry, see, I say it like this. If you, once I give you the advice and you don't take it, but you decide to go on and marry, it is my responsibility to do everything that I can to help your marriage be successful. And so that's what I think my part is in investing in marriage, is to whatever I can do, whatever advice I can give, whatever experiences I've had. And trust me, I've had a lot of experiences that could have made both of us just throw up our hands and throw up the towel and throw out the towel and walk away. But the decision was to keep working at it. And it wasn't bad times so much of us, as you've got to watch the influence that other people have in your relationship too. And so, yes, we do.
A lot of times marriages will fall apart because we let too many people in on our personal business.
This is true. This is true. And the wisdom is to listen to people, because you can gain wisdom, insight for helping you in your marriage. But at some point, it's just you and your spouse that has to make the decision about how you're going to live your marriage. Everybody lives their marriage differently. And so there's no one set pattern for how to live a marriage. But there are those things that can help us to enrich, to help make successful marriage, to make a healthy marriage. And that's what I'm hoping and believing that you'll get out of reading The Meat of Marriage and doing the workbook. Because the workbook makes you think about yourself, makes you think about your family, makes you think about your spouse, makes you think about your spouse's influence, makes you think about how you're going to handle the children when they come along, how you're going to handle your finances. There's a lot of good things in here in this workbook to help navigate you into a good relationship and a stronger marriage, a stronger relationship between you. There's dating, there's the encouragement to date. There's all of that in between the two, the book and the workbook.
Okay, now with the workbook, I did have a question because we're getting close to the end of our time.
Okay.
And this is a generalization, but in these kinds of things where it's a workbook, do you find that men are more hesitant about doing those kinds of exercises that would be in a workbook or not when compared to the wife or the woman?
Well, of course. So let me give you a tip that I did.
Okay.
When I first married, I was reading marriage books too. So maybe that's another reason why uh, Dr. Tim LaHaye and I don't know some of the other books that I was reading, but I would read and then I would give it to my husband because I'd be so excited about something I learned, got out of it, and I'd give it to him to read. And he wouldn't read it. Now I'd go get another something and I'd read it and try to get him to read it, and he wouldn't read it. So I realized that what I wanted to get across, he wasn't going to get. So what I learned to do, and even still now, is I read a book, highlight those things that I would like for us to talk about. So therefore, he's not reading the whole book. He's reading the highlighted parts, and then we are able to discuss. And so I would say, yes, men really, a lot of men do not want or would not be interested in doing a workbook, but it can benefit him as a husband, as the spouse. It can benefit him. But if he can't, then I would tell the wife, just you two buy the book, buy two workbooks. And that's what we generally do when we counsel. We say, buy 2 workbooks, or get them from us. You work it, your spouse works it, then you come together and discuss it. And that's one way to get the men involved in doing a workbook.
Okay.
And the
Yeah, a lot of
questions
times their ego makes, it's like a personal criticism, and then, they recoil from personal criticisms. So, you have to tread gently with husbands. You have to be gentle.
Well, okay.
That's
all
been
right.
my experience. And all the other wives I talk to say the same thing. So
I agree that you do have to, but I've given you some tips. I've given some tips of a way that you can get it done. And then, I always say this. I know it's going to sound a little whatever, but I always say, if you want them to read something, sometimes you just have to place it in the bathroom. Because at some point they're gonna be in there. They're gonna need something.
Well, you
to
have
do,
they have a captive audience, and they need something to read.
I wasn't ready for that one, but it's true. It makes sense, but I wasn't ready for you to say that.
I told you weren't gonna be ready for it, but it is a way. Or sometimes you just have to lay it on the table and just leave some part, and maybe they'll pick it up and read that part. You just got to find a creative way to do it. This is a night show. This is a family show, so I won't tell you another way that you can do it. But yeah, it is a family show. But
it circulates.
But you can use creativity. Is all I'm saying. You can be in the car and just ask the question. Like I just randomly went to this page. Chapter 7 changes. We all need to face the fact that there is always room for improvement. Are you the problem or the solution in your marriage? Be honest. Take an inventory of yourself. So that just gives you an idea of some of the things that are in the workbook. And if you're in the car and you're traveling, you're going to be there in the car. You can't
so
get
you have
out.
to get them when it's captive again in the car.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Anyway, we could talk more about this, but we're at the end of our time, Peggy. And let people know again where they can get your book, The Meat of Marriage, and the workbook.
Well, you can contact me at solo.to/Peggy B. Dixon. That's one way to get me. I'll say it again. Solo, SOLO.to/Peggy B. Dixon. You can contact me on Facebook. You can contact me through Amazon and get my book. you can just email me at peggybrucedixon@gmail.com.
Okay.
But
All right.
we put your website as well as your Amazon link in the chat. So
Thank you,
everybody go out and order this book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the workbook.
And the
workbook.
And the
workbook.
workbook.
And the
Miss
workbook.
Peggy has been married 50 years. She
Yeah.
knows what she's talking
So
about.
she knows something about
Yes.
it, you know?
I know a little something anyway.
Yeah, a little something.
A little something. Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Thanks so much, Peggy, and congratulations on your new book.
well, thank you for having me again, Gwen and Doctor.
I'm a doctor friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Friend. It's always a joy to be with you all. We always have fun. We always laugh.
Okay.
Yes.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So that was about the meat of marriage. And we have our final guest. She's also with BK Royston Publishing. Her name is Linda Henderson. And her book is called Many Messages from God, #2. So it's many, M-I-N-I, not M-A-N-Y. Many Messages from God. And it's #2. So I'm assuming that it's the second book after the first book, Many Messages. So Linda, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV, and we need you to unmute your mic so we'll be able to hear you. Okay, there you go. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so glad to be here. Excited about this.
Okay, and do you have a copy of your book, Many Messages from God?
Yes, ma'am. I have 1 and 2.
And 2, okay.
This is number 1.
1, okay, and then the number
That's
2 came
number
out
2.
April.
Well, I guess my first question is, what exactly is a mini message? And does the book go about how we can recognize these mini messages?
Yes, ma'am. When I first started going to church and actually learning, the process of going, but then actually learning what the Word of God said, one of my ministers said to me to apply the Word of God to your life. And I really didn't know what that meant, how to apply this Word of God to my life. So I asked the Holy Spirit. My other minister also told me to don't do nothing without asking the Holy Spirit to lead you, to guide you. So that's what I did. I asked him, what do you mean by applying this to my life? How do I apply this to my life? So I went on a mission of trying to apply the Word of God to my life. And that's what the first one definitely shows, some of the conversational, some of the relational things that I have been through in my life with my children, with my friends, with my family, and how I applied that, how I saw it. And one of the ways I explain it is there's a message in there. It's called Reclaim Your Day. It's about one of my grandsons who was just the best little thing ever. He's 5 years old, going to kindergarten, and he went to kindergarten at 5 and turned into a little holy terror. He had those big puppy dog eyes. He had those dimples. He was so cute, and all of a sudden, we didn't know what to do with him. We tried taking things away from him. We tried putting him in the corner, those kind of things, but it didn't work. But one of his teachers said, would tell him that he still had time to reclaim his day. And the message that I got from that is that's how God feels about us. No matter what we've done wrong, we've turned into a holy terror at Walmart or whatever happens wherever we go. We still have time to reclaim our day. We still have time to reclaim our month. We have time to reclaim our year because God loves us, just like we love that little boy with those cute little dimples. He looks at us and says, they're mine, and I'm not here to, sell them short or to give up on them. So it's kind of a relational, kind of conversational book that definitely the first one was. A lot of examples of things that went on in my own life.
Okay, so Reclaim Your Day is one of the messages. What's another one that you in the first book, and then we'll go to the second book.
Okay, that one was the first book, actually.
Mhm.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My things are going on and off over here. I like Friends. I also like Change. It just talks about how important friends are in your life. How, you know, some are gonna be there for you, some that are supposed you think it's gonna be with you through thick and thin, and you know, all of a sudden they're not there. So it talks about that, what friends are and what they mean in your life. So that's one of my messages. I also have one that's called Hidden Figures, that is kind of relates to the book, the movie Hidden Figures, but it's like we're hiding places, and where we try to hide things. And when we're little kids, we get up under the bed and we hide from each other. We play hide and seek, and sometimes that's what we do from the Lord. We don't get there. We know that, you know, somebody's out there, they're looking for us, but we're hiding and we're staying there. And when God comes, he's gonna come and he's gonna you know, take you where he wants you to go. And that's why I'm 66 years old right now, and he's been looking for me to do these books. And so I just am just really excited about, because sometimes when you get to a certain age, like Sarah, y'all remember Sarah, who did not felt like a baby and laughed, because and God was like, what? She's laughing, she don't believe what I'm saying. But you know, when you get, it doesn't matter, you never stop learning. He can always use you. He comes and looks for those, you know, that he can't use you if you don't know what the word says. And my first experience with that was when I worked in the mall, and there's people that came out there, and I said they accosted the teenagers. They accosted the teenagers. They were telling them things. They were, you know, from a religious group, and I don't know what religious group they were from. But my oldest daughter, was getting old enough to come out to the mall by herself, or come out there to meet me. And so I thought, and at the time we were not, you know, going to church. And I thought, I'm not going to let my children come out here and somebody say something to them. And when they say, Mom, is that true? And Mom does not know, so that couldn't happen. So that's how I got on this road of going back to church, because I was not going to let my children, you know, drink the Kool-Aid. And I don't know what flavor it is. You know what I mean? I didn't have any idea of if I could, you know, what to say to them. Was that true? Is what's going on for what this group of people are telling me, is that true? So I had to go and find out for myself. And that's how I started on this road. And that's how I ended up with these books, because when I enjoyed learning, it just, you know, it just came and came and came. And I always asked the Holy Spirit to show me, because I did not know. We grew up going to church, you know, just a little bit at a time. You know, we go to Catholic church with our cousins. We had neighbors that, well, he was a pastor, so we went with his family for a little while. So it wasn't like a continual thing. So just being able to learn, I knew who baby Jesus was. That was my baby Jesus, was the one I knew. I would make my cousins on Christmas, and my sister, we would come and we would get around the Christmas tree and hold hands. And I mean, I would make them come. And I don't know what the prayer was I prayed. I have no idea, but we would have to pray to baby Jesus for that. So I knew I was there. There was a process going on. As I grew older, I knew, you know, certain things happened for a reason. And so it just, you know, kind of led me to this, where I am now. And I, you know, people say the best life, you know, you live in the best life because you know you're doing something that God has placed on your heart.
Yeah,
That's
children.
the message right there.
Yeah, children can be a motivator for
Yes, and can they not be? Yes.
for a lot of things. You know,
Yes.
including if you are if you haven't been involved in a church, I recommend parents to find a church that has a good youth program where
Yes.
that's specifically for children at different levels and that teaches the word, but also has enjoyable activities, because you don't want children to go to church and feel like they're in prison, you know.
Sure, God is not that boring, is he?
Right.
He
But
is
it's not restrictive like that, you know. It's
No,
not.
he's not.
So you want, that was one thing. My dad was a pastor, but he allowed the teenagers to really kind of chart our own path. We would write plays and act them out, and he was very flexible. He was more flexible at church than he was at home. like like that. He would allow the teens at the church, we were in the choir and we would do a lot of activities. He was a lot more strict at home, but he recognized the need to have children involved. And I was fortunate when I was growing up, our whole church was families. It was dad, mom, and the kids, the whole church. There were a few single parents, not that many. It was families. And
Okay. Great.
it was really an idyllic type setting because it was
You
really
felt
a
free. You
village.
had, yeah.
Well, we felt protected. Everybody was watching. The adults were watching, all the kids. And so it kind of kept you on the right path. And most of the teenagers went to college. They continued their education.
Amen.
It was emphasized.
In the Bible, it talks about the children being arrows. I think it's the conversation with
Your
David,
quiver.
arrows in your
Your
quiver.
quiver. Uh-huh.
And yeah, that's what happens. I have one, my oldest daughter's finance. She got her master's in finance, so she, with numbers and money, she knows what to do. I think, okay, that's a pretty good quiver right there. I have one that is communications and marketing, and she also has her law degree. And so I'm thinking, okay, she can communicate with me. If I get in any trouble, she can help me out. And the other one, she's the one who took my pictures. She's the photographer. So
Okay.
I have, and there's my husband. He is all around, the best quiver. That if he's he's my arrow in my quiver, then he's the best one in there. He's got all the little feathers in that quiver. So he's good, and I'm glad to have support like that, because I don't think that I could. There's nothing you can do without your family and without your friends, and so I'm blessed to have.
And not everybody has that. Some people, they don't have the support at home. They kind of are out there on their own, but many times there will be somebody that crosses their path that can be a mentor or a guide.
Right.
Yeah.
For a lot of people. Now, why did you feel the need to do the second book? What did you feel like you didn't
continue to have many messages. Then many, M-I-N-I. So
right.
I continue to have those many messages that come along. I do the message at church. I once or twice a month I'll do or I'll preach. And so I have messages from that, and I just continually, and one of the reasons was I write everything down. All of my messages that I have, I'll write them down, and I'll take them up in the pulpit and I'll read them from there. But if I left books laying somewhere, nobody would ever be able to read it, have any understanding of it, because I'm in all the margins, I'm everywhere. So to get them together was one of the reasons that I wanted to put them in some type of form, so that people at some point in life, if they picked it up, they would be able to read what I have done my whole life, and that's my life's work and my joy to do it, and so I want my children to be able to look back on, and I remember something my mom wrote, or so I want them to look back. I want them to have a legacy that they wouldn't have to sit down and have somebody decipher for them. So that was one of my main reasons. for getting it down there, because I understood that they were meant for me. A lot of these things, when these messages, you'll know that they're definitely for me, that God just a little nugget, nothing, major and big and wordy and all of that, but he has given me a little something to see out of the messages that he put in the Bible.
Well,
So I can apply my life. I'm sorry.
No, I just said I'm loving this message that you're sharing now.
Okay, great. I love to share these messages, and so when I went to the Black festival in Richmond, and my daughter and I traveled there. We had the best time. We got lost several times going around in a circle, but we had the best time going, and I hadn't got a chance to do things with her in a while. And so when we got there, it was just the best thing. And so when we've traveled, it doesn't have to be very far. We live in Kentucky, and we go to Illinois. We go up to Louisville and to Lexington. And so we get to share the message, and that's what I want to share. I just want to share it, and it's simple enough that even a child can understand it. I don't, put a lot of words that, I don't understand in there, but I put it in there so that my 12-year-old grandchild could read it and get an understanding out of it. And the new members classes, I have someone using those as just the beginnings of the new members class. And then just babies in Christ, when you pick it up, there's no way that you will not be able to understand what I'm saying in there. And it's a nugget from God. It's not anything that I made up, but it's something that God had given me along the way.
Okay, now you said you work in ministry at your church. What role do you play in that?
I am the associate minister there, and I fill in for my pastor when he's not there. Usually every fourth Sunday I'll preach, but if he's not there, then I'll preach when he's gone, when he has, maybe family things or vacation, things like that. And then around town, I've done Mother's Day messages and just a few things when something comes up that they need you to to come in for the women's ministry, and I do that. And I also have there is a senior citizen group here in town that I go and preach a message, and they have them on every Tuesday. They've been, I don't even remember how many years she said. I want to say 19 years, but it may be more than that. And all the senior citizens from all different churches, all different backgrounds, they come and hear the word.
Well, I'm guessing as an associate minister, you've had a pretty good feedback or reaction to your book.
Yes. And people that I just didn't think. I have some, I think I have some here, some of my reviews that people said. My husband said that it was good. He said that was his message. I'll put it in here anyway.
Well, you know what? Sometimes that's a huge review from a man.
Yeah. I have one that says
a few words.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't. And I take whatever he says to me seriously. Sometimes I might have to tear the rough edges off around and make sure that I'm quite getting it, but he's very wise. And so I use whatever it is he says that I need to do. Even if he says, honey, we won't go there. How they tell you what you look like. And they don't quite get it quite right, good enough for you to hear it, but they say it anyway, and I take it. I don't take it for granted. I have one that says compelling, hard to put down. I'll put it in my new book, what they said about the first book.
Okay.
Love the relational and conversational content. That was from Karen B. I like the prayers at the end. It brings everything together for me. That's my nephew, who's, how old is he? 43 now, I believe. And he liked the prayers at the end because it brings it together for him. Like the way things are explained. I hadn't thought about it in the way you talked about them. The word will go forth and not come back void. It's for everyone. It's for my really good friend, Beverly. It is meant for everyone. I read it, and now my husband is reading it. That's Cindy. And you did a great job, young lady, with your book. I have enjoyed it. I read it every night, and that's Cindy's husband. He's, so I went to a birthday party for my friend who bought all these books for all these friends in here, and I felt like a celebrity at her birthday party because that's what we talked about the whole time. And I'm in my element when I can talk about God and what He's done for me and try to share. And the understanding, that it's the best thing in the world. There's nothing I can do better than God can do. And if He says it in His word, then I believe it, that it's true. I ask for understanding of it, because sometimes we do, get a little bit of but once you ask the Holy Spirit to explain it to you, tell me what I need to do about this. What does this mean? He will do it. So we have to remember the Holy Spirit, because in the name of Jesus, we pray to God, but the Holy Spirit is here with us day after day after day, helping us find our earring or our shoe, or healing our friend for us when we pray for him. So yeah, he's here, and that's what He's here for. And He is our companion. He's a comforter. He can rebuke us too, tell us, you need to do a little bit better than that. And we could see it. So God is good, and he thought of everything in advance at the beginning, from the beginning to the end, or from the ending to the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So are these the only 2 books that you have right now?
These are the only 2 that are published and out. I have some children's books that I've written, one about my husband and the cat. Hopefully that'll come out soon. Eventually, one about my grandson and his spectacular birthday party he had. So
okay,
yeah, a couple of those, and I'm already starting on my 3rd one, just because I did a message a couple of weeks ago at church. And so
okay,
you to get messages, and they're not the same. They don't preach the same as they read, but they are, I continually have content, is what I'm trying to say. And I write it down, and I have to put it in order. So that's how it works.
Well, that's a good thing. Well, we're at the end of our time. Linda,
Okay.
if you want to show your 2 books again, so the audience can see the covers. Many Messages from God, the first book, and then Many Messages from God 2, and let the audience know where they can get your book.
You can get them from Amazon. It's on the back of the book, Amazon, even with my email, lkhendesign@yahoo.com. You can get them that way. And wherever books are sold, from what I hear, you can get them.
I did put your link.
Fine. Yes, ma'am.
I was just saying, I did put your link in the chat. So everybody, if this message tonight resonated with you, please make sure you go and support this book.
Thank
Both
you.
books.
Yeah.
Both books.
1 and 2.
Try 1 first, and then 2.
There you go.
Okay. Well, Linda, thank you so much for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your books and what you have planned for the future.
What I have planned for the future is to continue on until God says stop it. And I hope He doesn't ever stop it. So yeah, thank you so much. And it was so nice being on here. I know when I start talking about this, I'll just go on and on and on. And normally my children, they out-talk me. I can't get a word in when my husband is around, but when I start talking about the word of God, then they all have to just, move out of the way. And that is good because sometimes we're there and we're just talking, and they're talking and I'm listening. And so when I get a chance to, I'll do it. In the name
Okay,
of
well, you
Jesus.
have a great evening, and again,
Thank you so
congratulations.
much. It was so nice to meet you.
Okay.
You both of you. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, that is the last interview for tonight. And we have, as I said, we have some great interviews coming up. The month of June is completely booked, and we're looking forward to the fall. So that's it for me and Rhonda. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.